The click of the lock echoed like a gunshot in the empty locker room, sealing us in a world where the air suddenly tasted like regret and rain-soaked earth. Coach Harlan's eyes, those storm-gray eyes I'd stolen glances at for months, locked onto mine with a desperation that made my knees buckle, his voice cracking as he whispered, "I can't do this anymore, Alex. It's killing me." In that frozen heartbeat, as his hand trembled on the door, I realized the boy I'd raised was just outside, oblivious, while the man before me was about to shatter everything we'd both pretended wasn't real. It started 6 months earlier, back when the leaves on the old oaks in Willow Creek, Ohio, were turning that fiery red that makes you believe in second chances. I was 38, a widower scraping by as a mechanic at the local Ford dealership, the kind of place where oil stains your hands like permanent tattoos and the radio only plays classic rock to drown out the loneliness. My son, Tommy, was 12, all gangly limbs and boundless energy, the spitting image of his mother with her freckles and that crooked grin that could melt glaciers. Sarah had been gone 3 years now, cancer, the thief that comes in the night without apology, and since then, it had been just us against the world. Soccer was Tommy's escape, his way of outrunning the ghost in our 2-bedroom ranch house on Elm Street. Mine was watching him from the sidelines, cheering like a fool, pretending that's all I needed. That's where I first saw Coach Harlan, real name Elias Harlan, but everyone called him Coach like he was some mythical figure carved from the heartland itself. He was in his early 40s, broad-shouldered from years of chasing dreams on fields just like this one, back when he was a star midfielder at Ohio State. I'd heard the stories. The knee injury that ended his pro shot, the way he poured it all into coaching the Willow Creek Wildcats, turning ragtag kids into a team that actually won regionals last spring. He had that easy Midwestern charm, salt and pepper hair cropped short, a jawline that could cut glass, and laugh lines around his eyes that spoke of too many sunsets alone. But it was his voice that got me first, deep and gravelly, barking orders during drills like he was rallying troops in some forgotten war. The first practice I really noticed him was a muggy August evening, the kind where the humidity clings to your skin like a bad memory. Tommy had just botched a penalty kick, the ball sailing wide into the chain-link fence, and the other boys snickered. I was leaning against my beat-up Chevy, arms crossed, biting back the urge to charge the field and show him how it's done. But Harlan didn't yell. He jogged over, knelt in the dirt beside Tommy, and said, "Hey kid, that kick has got heart. Next one's gonna sing." Tommy's face lit up like I'd handed him the moon, and as Harlan ruffled his hair, our eyes met across the grass. It was electric, a jolt straight to my gut, the kind you feel when you lock eyes with someone and know, deep down, that the universe just shifted. He held my gaze a beat too long, then flashed a smile that was all teeth and trouble before turning back to the team. I drove home that night with my hands white-knuckled on the wheel, telling myself it was nothing, just the heat playing tricks. Over the next few weeks, it became a ritual. Me showing up early, Tommy lacing up his cleats with that fierce determination, and Harlan commanding the field like he owned the horizon. We'd chat after practices, small talk at first, the weather, the Buckeyes' chances, how Tommy was improving faster than a wildfire. "Your boy's a natural," he'd say, wiping sweat from his brow with the hem of his shirt, flashing a strip of tanned abs that made my throat dry. I'd nod, mutter something about genetics, but inside, I was unraveling. See, I'd always known I was different. Growing up in Willow Creek, where Sunday sermons preached fire and brimstone, I'd buried it deep, dated girls in high school, married Sarah because she was kind and steady, loved her in the quiet way you love a best friend. But after she died, the truth clawed its way out, raw and unrelenting. I'd catch myself lingering on the sports pages, not for the scores, but for the photos of those chiseled athletes, wondering what it would be like to trace the lines of a man's strength without shame. Harlan became my what-if, my midnight fantasy wrapped in flannel and faded jeans. He was married once to a woman named Laura. Divorced 5 years back, no kids, the town whispered about it like it was a scandal, but he never talked details. Lived alone in a cabin on the edge of town. Coached full-time. Volunteered at the rec center. Solid, they said. Unbreakable. But there were cracks. The way his laugh would falter when talk turned to weekends, or how he'd linger after games, nursing a Gatorade while the dads slapped backs and headed to the bar. One Friday, after a win against the Riverton Raiders, the team celebrated with pizza at the field house. Tommy was off devouring his third slice, grease on his chin, when Harlan sidled up to me by the cooler. "You sticking around for the bonfire?" he asked, his voice low, like we were sharing state secrets. The dads were planning one out by the lake, beers and bad jokes under the stars. I shrugged. "If Tommy wants." He leaned in, close enough I could smell his aftershave, cedar and something sharper, like whiskey, and murmured, "I'd like that." My heart hammered like a piston. That night, by the crackling fire, with Tommy roasting marshmallows 10 feet away, Harlan sat beside me, our knees brushing in the dark. We talked about everything and nothing. His glory days, my grease monkey life, the way the Milky Way looked like spilled diamonds over Ohio. When he said, "You're good people, Alex. Real good." His hand grazed mine accidental-like, but neither of us pulled away. The touch lingered, a promise unspoken, and as the embers died, I drove home with stars in my eyes and a fire in my chest I couldn't douse. Fall deepened, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle bones, and our paths crossed more. I'd volunteer to help with equipment after practices, hauling cones and nets while Tommy scrimmaged. Harlan would join, our shoulders bumping in the storage shed, laughter echoing off metal shelves. One rainy Tuesday, the skies opened up mid-drill, sending the boys scattering like wet chickens. Tommy dashed to the car, but I lingered under the awning, shaking water from my jacket. Harlan appeared, drenched, his shirt clinging like a second skin. "Stubborn weather," he grumbled, but his eyes danced. We shared the shelter, shoulders touching, and in the downpour's roar, he confessed, "Divorce wrecked me, Alex. Made me question everything." The air thickened, charged like the storm outside. I swallowed hard. "Me too." Sarah's passing. It stripped me bare. Silence stretched, then his fingers brushed my wrist, deliberate this time. "What if we weren't alone in it?" he said, voice rough as gravel. My breath caught. That was the night we crossed the line. Not with kisses or grand gestures, but with honesty, raw and real. We met for coffee the next day at the diner on Main, away from prying eyes, talking for hours about the weights we carried. He admitted the divorce wasn't just about Laura. It was about him, about realizing late in life that his heart beat for men, for the strength and quiet fire he saw in guys like me. I told him about the nights I'd lain awake, mourning not just Sarah, but the life I'd never lived. By the time we parted, his hand on my arm felt like homecoming. What bloomed between us was tentative, like the first crocuses after a brutal winter, fragile but fierce. Stolen moments. A hike in the state park, where we held hands on a trail no one took, the rustle of leaves our only witness. Late-night calls after Tommy was asleep, his voice a bomb against the silence of my empty bed. Romance in the American vein, roadside diners with pie and promises, drives along the winding Scioto River with the windows down and Bruce Springsteen crooning about Thunder Roads. Harlan was poetry in motion. He'd quote Whitman during our walks, his Ohio drawl turning, "I sing the body electric," into a love letter. And me? I was the anchor, the steady hand that traced the scars on his knuckles from old fights, literal and figurative. Tommy noticed the change in me, the lightness in my step. "Dad, you're smiling more," he'd say, and I'd ruffle his hair. Echo Harlan's words from that first practice. "Heart, kid. It's all heart." But Willow Creek wasn't built for stories like ours. The town was a patchwork of white picket fences and church steeples, where family values meant one man, one woman, and Sunday potlucks that tasted like judgment. Whispers followed Harlan already. The divorce, his bachelor ways, and now, with me in the mix, shadows lengthened. One crisp October evening, after a game where Tommy scored the winner, a parent cornered me in the parking lot. Old Mr. Hargrove, red-faced from tailgate whiskey, clapped my shoulder too hard. "Heard coach is sweet on the boys' dads. Keep an eye, Alex. Town don't take kindly to that." My blood ran cold, but I laughed it off, drove home with fury simmering. That night, Harlan came over, first time in my house. Tommy was at a sleepover, the place ours for a few stolen hours. We cooked spaghetti, sauce bubbling like our laughter, and when the dishes were done, he pulled me close in the kitchen, forehead to forehead. "I'm scared," he admitted, breath warm against my skin. "But God, Alex, you're worth it." Our first kiss was there, under the flickering bulb above the sink. Soft, searching, tasting of marinara and hope. It deepened slowly, hands mapping familiar territories with new wonder. But we held back, letting emotion lead. We ended up on the couch, tangled in each other's arms, whispering dreams. A life beyond hiding. Maybe even telling Tommy when the time was right. As he left at midnight, kissing me goodbye on the porch like it was the most natural thing, I believed we could rewrite the rules. Winter crept in, blanketing Willow Creek in snow that muffled sins and secrets alike. Our love grew roots, secret dates at the drive-in outside town, where we'd park in the back row, sharing popcorn and stolen touches under blankets. Christmas lights twinkling as we ice-skated on the frozen pond, Harlan's arms around my waist steadying me like he steadied the team. Tommy thrived, his confidence blooming under Harlan's coaching, and I'd catch them in moments that twisted my heart. Harlan tossing Tommy a ball, both laughing, father-son without the label. Felt right, whole, but cracks spiderwebbed. Harlan's ex, Laura, blew back into town for the holidays, stirring gossip like a hornet's nest. She was sharp-tongued, ambitious, now a realtor in Columbus, and rumors flew that they were reconciling. For appearances, the town hoped. Harlan shut it down quick, but the damage lingered. Parents grumbled at games, sidelong glances my way like accusations. And then there was me, terrified of losing Tommy to scandal, of him growing up in a home fractured by my truth. The tension peaked in January, during a blizzard that shut down the county. Practices canceled, but Harlan texted, "Cabin. Now, need you." I bundled Tommy off to a neighbor's sledding party and drove through whiteout conditions, heart pounding. His place was a log haven off Route 23, smoke curling from the chimney like an invitation. Inside, it smelled of pine and stew simmering on the stove. He pulled me into an embrace that bordered on desperate, murmuring, "Missed you like air." We spent the afternoon by the fire, wrapped in quilts, sharing stories of childhood Christmases. His in a strict farmhouse, mine in this very town, dodging questions about girls. Laughter turned to tears when he confessed the divorce's toll. Laura had known, begged him to fix it, but he couldn't. "I love you, Alex," he said, the words hanging heavy as the snow outside. "This us. It's the first real thing I felt." I kissed him then, slow and sure, our bodies aligning like puzzle pieces long separated. It was intimate, vulnerable, a dance of souls more than skin, reaffirming what we'd built. As the storm raged, we dreamed aloud. Coming out together, maybe after the spring tournament, showing Tommy Love's many faces. But fate, that cruel jester, had other plans. February brought thaw and turmoil. Tommy's team made playoffs, the town buzzing, but so did the whispers. Amplified when Laura lingered post-visit. Spotted at the grocery with Harlan. Platonic lunch, they swore. I trusted him, but doubt gnawed like frostbite. One evening, post-practice, a mom, Jenny from the PDA, all pearl necklaces and pious smiles, hissed at me. "Coach is a bad influence. Keep your boy away." Rage boiled, but I swallowed it for Tommy's sake. That night, Harlan and I argued, first time, over takeout Chinese in his truck, parked by the river. "They're poisoning us," I said, voice breaking. He gripped the wheel white-knuckled. "We'll fight it. Together." But his eyes held shadows, and when he dropped me off, the kiss was hurried, laced with goodbye. The hook that pulled us under came mid-March, under a sky bruised purple with spring rain. Tommy's game against state qualifiers was electric, mud-splattered kids, crowd roaring like the Scioto in flood. He assisted the tying goal, Harlan's proud grin visible from the bleachers. After, as parents milled, Harlan caught my eye, nodded toward the field house. Heart in throat, I followed, Tommy chattering about ice cream. "Go ahead, bud," I said, ruffling his hair. "Dad'll catch up." Inside, the office was dim, fluorescent hum the only sound. Harlan shut the door, locked it with a decisive click that echoed like fate's gavel. He turned, face ashen, eyes wild. "We need to talk," he said, voice a whisper shout, and that's when the dam broke. He paced the cramped space, cleats squeaking on linoleum, hands raking through his damp hair. Posters of soccer legends curled at the edges on cinderblock walls, a stark reminder of the glory he'd traded for this limbo. "Alex, sit," he urged, gesturing to a rickety metal chair that had seen better decades. I couldn't. The lock's echo still reverberated in my skull, a barrier between the life outside, Tommy waiting, innocent and eager, and whatever grenade he was about to pull the pin on. "What's this about?" I demanded, arms crossed like armor, though my voice betrayed me, cracking on the edges. Harlan stopped, leaned against his desk cluttered with scouting reports and protein bar wrappers, and met my gaze with the weight of a collapsing star. "Laura's back for good. Got a job at the real estate office downtown. And she's pushing for reconciliation. Publicly." The words landed like punches, each one stealing breath. Reconciliation? After everything, the lies, the late-blooming truths? My stomach twisted, bile rising. "And you?" I choked out, hating the vulnerability threading my tone. He winced like I'd slapped him. "God, no. Not like that. But the town's eating it up, Alex. Hargrove cornered me after the game. Said if I don't set things right, he'll make sure the school board knows about us." The word, once a sanctuary, now a curse. Willow Creek's underbelly wasn't pitchforks and torches. It was petitions, anonymous letters to the superintendent, parents pulling kids from the team like defecting soldiers. I sank into the chair then, the cold metal biting through my jeans, world tilting. Flashes assaulted me. Our first hike, hands clasped under canopy of sycamores. The way he'd hum Thunder Road off-key during drives, making me laugh till my sides ached. That blizzard night, his confession by firelight, "You're my North Star." All of it, teetering on this precipice because small-town America couldn't fathom love that didn't fit the script. "So what now?" I whispered, eyes burning. Harlan knelt before me, hands on my knees, warm, calloused, the hands that had traced my jaw in moonlight. "I won't lose you, but Tommy, the team. If this blows up, it'll scar him. Scar all of him." His thumb stroked my skin, a plea. "Maybe we cool it, just till playoffs end. Then we fight. Properly, out loud. Cool it." The phrase hung, innocuous as frost, but it sliced deep. Betrayal? No, not quite. Survival, he called it. Self-preservation dressed as protection. I pulled away, standing abrupt, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. Cool it? Like we're some summer fling. Anger surged, hot and unbidden. "I've waited my whole damn life for this, Elias. For someone who sees me. Not the widower, not the gearhead dad, but me. And now, because Hargrove's got a bug up his ass, we hit pause." He rose too, close enough to feel his heat, his regret radiating like a fever. "It's not forever. It's strategy. Don't." I cut him off, voice venom-laced. "Don't say it now when it's ammunition." Silence crashed, thick as the rain pattering the window. Outside, thunder grumbled, mirroring the storm in my chest. Harlan reached for me, but I backed toward the door. "Alex, please." His eyes, those gray tempests, shimmered. "I can't lose this. Lose you." I unlocked the door, the click a counterpoint to the one that trapped us here. "Then don't," I said, soft as defeat, and slipped out into the drizzle. Tommy was there, bouncing a ball against the wall, oblivious. "Dad? Coach okay?" I forced a smile, the kind that fools no one but kids. "Yeah, bud. Just grown-up stuff." We drove home to Meatloaf reheated and Jeopardy on the TV, but my mind replayed The Office like a loop. The lock, the ultimatum, the fracture. That night, alone in bed, Sarah's sighed a cold void. I wept, silent, wrenching sobs for the man I loved and the world that demanded we bury him. The weeks that followed were a masterclass in agony. The slow bleed of a love put on ice. Playoffs loomed, the Wildcats drilling like warriors, Harlan's commands sharp as ever from the sidelines. I'd show up, clap at goals, but our eyes avoided like magnets repelled. Stolen glances, yes, fleeting, fraught with what-ifs but conversations, reduced to texts. Good game tonight. Tommy's flying. Emojis, the coward's bridge. Inside, I rotted. Shifts at the shop blurring into monotony. Wrenches slipping from grease-slick hands. Dreams haunted by his cedar scent. Tommy sensed it, his chatter dimming over dinner. You and Coach fighting? He asked one night, fork spearing peas like enemies. Kids see through facades like glass. Nah, just busy. I lied, hating the taste. But doubt festered. What if Harlan chose the easy path? Laura's laugh echoing at the diner, her hand on his arm for the cameras? The thought clawed, irrational but insistent. Meanwhile, the town tightened its noose. Jenny from PDA circulated a petition. 4 traditional values in youth sports. Veiled barbs at Harlan's lifestyle. Signatures piled up at the coffee shop. Whispers trailing me like smoke. That mechanic? Always hovering round the coach. Isolation crept. Friends I'd known since sandbox days suddenly scarce. Invitations drying like creek beds in drought. Even the church pastor, Reverend Ellis, pulled me aside after services. His office smelling of lemon pledge and piety. Heard rumors, son, about you and Elias. Willow Creek's a family. We protect our own. Protect. The word twisted. Paternalistic poison. I left with spine straight, but soul bruised, vowing to shield Tommy from the rot. Harlan fared no better. I saw it in the hollows under his eyes during games, the way his whistle blasts carried an edge of exhaustion. One Saturday scrimmage, as mud flew and boys collided, he subbed Tommy out for a breather, rare, since my kid was on fire. Later, alone by the water cooler, Harlan muttered, "He's pushing too hard. Like me at his age." Pride swelled, mingled with ache. Our fingers brushed passing the jug, electric, accidental, and for a split second, time rewound to bonfires and blankets. But reality intruded. Hargrove lurking nearby, eyes narrowed. Harlan jerked away, face paling, and I swallowed the hurt, nodding like it was nothing. The breaking point came mid-April, under a canopy of blooming dogwoods that mocked our wilted bond. The semifinal against Dayton was a bloodbath. Tied at 1-1 in extra time, tension thick as humidity. Tommy, subbed in late, weaved through defenders like a ghost, crossed to his teammate for the winner. The crowd erupted, horns blaring, but my cheer died in throat when I saw Harlan, vaulting the barrier, scooping Tommy up in a bear hug that lingered too long for coach player, too pure for anything else. Envy? No. Yearning, sharp as shattered glass. For a family that included us all. Post-game, as confetti rained, Laura appeared. Poised in khakis and blouse, congratulating Harlan with a hug that screamed optics. Cameras flashed from the local paper. She waved like royalty. He extricated gently, but the sight gutted me. I loaded Tommy into the truck, engine roaring to life, fleeing before tears betrayed. That night, unable to breathe the same air as silence, I drove to his cabin unannounced, tires crunching gravel like bones. Porch light glowed, stew pot steaming forgotten on the stove inside. Harlan opened the door shirtless, sweatpants low, surprise melting to sorrow. "Alex, don't!" I echoed my office plea, stepping inside, door shutting soft behind. The cabin enveloped us, wood smoke and wool, echoes of our sanctuary. I saw her, the hug, the show. He sighed, raking hands through hair. "It's nothing. Damage control." I paced, heart hammering. "How long, Elias? Till the board axes you? Till Tommy asks why his coach vanished?" He caught my arm, pulling me close, chest to chest, breath sinking. "I'm fighting. Met with the superintendent tomorrow. Telling the truth about us on my terms." Shock rippled. "You'd out us? For what?" His eyes blazed, fierce as the man who rallied underdogs. "For a life. With you. With Tommy, if he'll have me." The kiss that followed was war and worship. Desperate, devouring, hands clutching like lifelines. We tumbled to the rug by the hearth, bodies entwining in a tangle of need and narrative. But it was emotions tied, not lusts, whispers of "I choose you," amid the storm. Dawn found us spent, not sated but fortified, coffee brewing as birdsong filtered through pines. Harlan's resolve held. Mine mended, fragile but forward. We planned. Support the meeting, brace for fallout, loop in Tommy with care. But as I dressed, phone buzzed, Tommy's school, voice tight. Your son's in the nurse's office. Fight at recess. Panic surged. I raced back to town, Harlan tailing in his Jeep. At the elementary, Tommy sat bandaged, lips split, eyes downcast. Some boys, said coach, is gay. And you too. That you're weird. The words, parroted innocence, eviscerated. Hargrove's spawn, no doubt retaliation's young foot soldiers. Rage warred with grief. I hugged Tommy fierce, Harlan hovering like a sentinel. In the hallway, eyes met, decision crystallized. No more hiding. The reckoning unfolded swift as spring flood. Harlan's meeting with the superintendent? Ambushed. Board members packed the room, petition in hand. Laura conspicuously absent, but her influence thick as fog. He stood tall, voice steady. I'm gay, and in love with Alex Reed. That's no threat. It's truth. Fire me if you must, but you'll lose more than a coach. Gasps rippled. Hargrove blustered. But whispers of support emerged. Parents who'd seen Harlan's magic, Tommy's glow. The board tabled it, pending review. But the dam cracked. Town divided. Boycotts at the diner. Rainbow stickers on bumpers overnight. Jenny unfriended me on Facebook. Reverend Ellis called for prayer circles. Yet allies rose. The diner owner comping our meals. Tommy's teacher slipping notes of encouragement. Betrayal's sharpest cut came from Laura. Not malice, but Mercy's cruel cousin. She cornered Harlan at the rec center, eyes soft with old wounds. I knew, Eli. Always did. But this? It'll destroy you here. She offered escape. Joint custody facade in Columbus, fresh start away from scrutiny. He refused, but the seed planted doubt, the serpent in Eden. That night, over bourbon on my porch swing, he confessed the temptation. Not her. Stability. For us. I gripped his hand, knuckles white. We build it here. Or nowhere. Tears traced his cheeks, moonlight silvering them. Promise you'll stay? Always? I vowed, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of futures forged. May bloom defiant, playoffs culminating in the state championship at Nationwide Arena in Columbus. Neon lights and roaring thousands. A world away from Willow Creek's whispers. Tommy started, nerves jangling. But Harlan's pregame huddle was gold. Play for heart, boys. The rest follows. They won 3-2 overtime heroics, Tommy's assist the spark. On the field, amid trophy lifts and flashes, Harlan pulled me into frame. Deliberate, defiant. The kiss we shared there, brief but bold, under arena lights, was headline fodder by morning. Wildcats win, and love story steals show. Back home, the board relented, reinstated Harlan, petition shredded. But scars lingered, families left, enrollment dipped. We weathered, Tommy resilient, asking questions over waffles. So you and coach, like dads. We nodded, hearts full. Love's love, bud. He grinned, Sarah's echo. Harlan moved in that summer. Slow, with barbecues and box trucks. Our cabin a triad now, laughter echoing where silence once ruled. Yet humanism's grace isn't erasure. It's embrace of the broken. One autumn eve, years on, Tommy off to college, Harlan and I walked the old field, ghosts of that locked door fading. Worth it? He asked, hand in mine. I pulled him close, Ohio stars wheeling above. Every click, every crack. You, his smile, worn but warm. Thunder Road, Alex. All the way. And in that quiet we found our happy, not flawless, but fiercely ours.